Hi everybody, welcome to Lightworkers Together. This is Val. We finally have a day where it's a little breezy, but it's so beautiful. It's in the mid-50s and sunny, as you can see. It's really beautiful. So we're going to take a little walk here through the park, and we're going to talk about a topic that has been hitting pretty hard for a lot of the collective, myself included. So just a reminder that everything in these messages, please only take what resonates, okay? Leave anything that does not. And this information is all my personal experiences, my personal knowledge that I have gained, okay? Alrighty, we're going to jump right in without further ado. So, our topic is turning lessons into blessings. This can be very triggering for a lot of us in some ways, but the truth is, a lot of times it does take time. If you have something that has been going on in your life, it's not always easy to take the blessing from what you're going through at the moment, especially if it is a particularly difficult or challenging lesson, which many of them are for us. Many of them are. I'm with you all on that. So for a lot of mine, not all, I'm getting better at picking up on my blessings from the lessons sooner. But for some of mine, sometimes, especially for the huge ones, it took time, right? I needed time and space to be able to heal and release things, to then be able to look back at whatever that situation was and see the blessing in it. And most of the ones that it's harder for us to acknowledge any blessing in something, those are the ones that we needed the most. Those are the lessons that if we don't get them the first time around, we're going to keep doing it again and again and again until we do. This looks like a little horseshoe pit here. I don't know if you all can see how pretty. It's just beautiful. Oh, there goes the birds. Can you see them? I always think of birds as angel messengers. So we've got our angel messengers with us today. So I can give a personal example of this that might be of some use to someone. Because sometimes if we hear about what someone else is going through, especially if we are going through it at the same time, or we have gone through it recently, it can bring clarity to us. That's why it's helpful for us to share things when we can, when we're led to do so. So in my situation, I had a lesson that I wasn't getting. I wasn't getting it at all. And it definitely had to do with, sorry, there's a lot of wind right here. I don't know if that's going to mess up the sound or not. We're going to get in the trees over here. So I did what I would call on the repeat. And it was a cycle, like a lot of us do with relationships. And I would do the same thing pretty much every single time. Different person, right, but the same thing, where I would meet somebody and be in that beginning stage of getting to know them, and I would just give all of my trust, right, give all of my love up front, my thought process always being, well, you know, you give someone your trust until they break it, right? You give someone your love until they don't deserve it anymore. That was a hard lesson for me to learn. And I'm not sure why it took me quite so long to learn it. Guys, I can just tell you, a lot of cycles for me. A lot of cycles. And I think for some of us, I hope this wind is not messing up our volume. For some of us, if you are an open-hearted, loving individual, it's very difficult to not be in that state of being, okay? But at the end of the day, it isn't really serving your higher interest to be completely in an overgiving place. So I got into what I would call unbalanced. I'm going to use the nicest phrase for it I can. Unbalanced relationships, where there was a lot of giving on one end and not on the other. And a ton of it had to do with self-worth and other lessons that I needed to learn, and somehow I just wasn't getting them. So what happened? So God, the universe, would continue to bring me these same or similar scenarios in the hope that I would eventually get it. And I was slowly, incrementally getting it. And at one point, I had a pretty rough go of it. And I was like, that's it. No more of this. I'm not going to tolerate certain behaviors. I'm going to, put my needs first, which was something I did not ever do. And I'm going to do this, yada, 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 right? So I was like, I've got my lesson down. I'm good to go. So what happens to us when we go through these things and we have these lessons? We get tested on it, right? Did you get that lesson to the point where you can apply? Can you apply what you learned to your life? Sorry, that's a dumpster. It's not a very pretty view. Can you apply what you learned to your life in the way that it was meant to be, right? Can you do that? So I felt like, and at this time, I was not really what you would call fully awakened. Look how beautiful, guys. Isn't that beautiful? I was not really what you would call fully awakened. I was on the path, as we all are, but I wasn't really in a place where I understood and I saw things like I do now. But I was at a place where I was starting to stand up for myself. I felt like definitely valuing myself. So what happened? I was brought a test to see if I truly got the lessons that had been coming my way. Did I understand the blessing in them? Could I apply the lesson to my life and really be blessed by moving forward in a healthier way that would be for my highest good? So I felt I had, but not being fully awakened, I had a lot of stuff that needed to be healed. I didn't know it. And so all the best intentions, right? All the best intentions in the world is not going to put you in the place you want to be without the work behind it. So basically what happened was I gave myself some time off. I originally said, okay, I'm going to take a year and I'm just going to be by myself, with myself. And I pretty much enjoyed that to the point where 1 year became 2 years. And then I felt like, okay, I'm ready to get back out there now. I know what I want, what I don't want. But I was not healed. I had not healed anything. I unknowingly started down a better path for myself But the work that needed to be done, I wasn't really aware of any of that. So I started into a new relationship with all the best of intentions. This is this. I'm not in this relationship long at all before I recognize that I am doing the same thing again. I am impulsively leaping in. I am giving everything right up front again, instead of giving a little and waiting to see if I would get a little bit back, right? That is the healthy way to do things. That was not what I was doing. So, but by that time, of course, I was already deep in it. And then when red flags and things came along, I didn't call them the red flags that they were, everybody. That's a yellow flag. I'll let it go. Right? That's no big deal, or that's one little thing. I mean, so what? Overlook it. Get past it. But then when you have a lot of red flags, right? When you have a lot of red flags and you are in a place where you can see something going really wrong, right? You can see something going really wrong, and you're not quite sure how it got there. So I can take a big chunk of responsibility, which is what it's important to do. I take a big chunk of the responsibility for falling back into behaviors that would enable somebody to act in a certain way also, right? It doesn't excuse anybody else's behavior. Look, we're back here. I love this. I hope you all can hear me over the wind. The wind is starting to pick up now. Here we go. May peace prevail on earth. So anyway, to cut this long story a little bit shorter, it didn't end well. Oh, look, it's a bee. Look how pretty. The bee is my totem animal, and it is a sign of miracles. Hello, beautiful bee. Hello. Thank you, angels. So, there were some extreme things that happened. Look how beautiful this tree is. And it did not end well. What resulted, which is the case for a lot of traumatic things, a lot of people's awakening is triggered by traumas. And I'd had a partial awakening, a partial one, years earlier. Well, this one triggered the big mama. This was the big one. And while at the time I just felt like I was definitely in a victim mentality and not in a good place. It took me so much healing, shadow work, everything. But today I can stand here and say everything that I went through was a blessing. All of it. Because had I not gone through all the things that I did go through, I would not be the person that I am now. And I love the person that I am now. I value the person that I am now. I know that I have a lot to offer, and I don't have to be afraid to get into any kind of relationship, whether it's a friendship, romance, or whatever it is. I don't have to be afraid to do it because I now understand from my lessons the value in having boundaries. Not walls, which block everything out, but a healthy boundary, which says, this is my line in the sand. The very least that I deserve from anyone is respect, and whatever other things, for everybody it's different. And if someone crosses that boundary, you don't keep pushing the boundary back and making excuses, right, for someone. So I'm at a good place now where I have my boundaries in place. I understand why they're there and why they're necessary. and that it's for my highest good. I love myself enough at this point that I make that a priority. So I'm able to move forward like I never ever could in my life. Because always in the back of my mind, and some of you may have been through these cycles, so you know exactly what I'm talking about, where previously in my life, in the back of my mind, whenever I'd start into a relationship, whether it was a friendship or romance or whatever it was, at the back of my mind was always this thing of, well, this is not going to last, or what can go wrong with this, or whatever. And it's kind of, in many ways, many of us, when we are in those places where we have so much healing to do, we put up all kinds of internal walls, and sometimes we're not even aware of it. So in truth, none of it ever stood a chance. You know what I mean? If you are starting into something unhealed and with your walls up, it's just not going to work. And it wouldn't matter if that person would be your perfect match in every single way. If they would be, loyal, true, honorable, everything good, it wouldn't matter, because it wouldn't work, because you would not be in the right place to receive it. And the minute anything happened, even if it was a small thing, it would trigger you, and it would cause that, I call it like a domino effect. Because in my cases, when I was in relationships, if somebody would do something to hurt me, right, whether it be emotionally, whatever, I would immediately inside draw back, and the walls would just go straight up. And after that, it was literally just a matter of time, and it was all going to be over, right? It was just by what means was the relationship finally going to die? Was I going to walk, or was the other person going to walk? So many times I walked myself out of self-preservation. So it's a situation of, I have learned to take those lessons, though many of them can be hard lessons, and look at the blessings in them, that my life is free and clear now. Look how beautiful, guys. Isn't that gorgeous? So that's just an example of one thing. And the lessons can have to do with a million different things, so many different facets of our lives. It could have to do not just with self-worth, boundaries, and relationships, but lessons could also have to do with your family dynamics. It could have to do with how you treat your own physical self. It could have to do with how you manage your world, right? Your finances and things like that. So we will get on those repeats. We will absolutely get on those repeats, and we will keep learning the lessons until we get them. But we have to hold on to the fact that at the end of the day, there is a blessing in it. And we have to give ourselves a chance to see what it is. But like I said, a lot of lessons require healing. So trying to find the blessing in something before you have healed is not the best way to go about it. Sometimes you can, though. Sometimes you can be like, woo, that was rough, that was terrible. I know I got to heal all these things, but I can really see where it's going to turn out to be a better thing for me. So there are rare instances where that's the case. And usually those are fairly extreme. But for most of us, the healing has to take place, and then you can see the blessing in it and take that lesson and move forward and change something, right? Because that's what it's all about. Those things that tend to trigger us, those things that happen, are like tower moments in our lives. Some of them, we bring the tower down. Some of them, your creator's going to bring that tower down when it's time, when it needs to happen, when your soul knows it's the right time to do it. Look at this beautiful tree. Beautiful tree. So what I wish for everyone is to be able to give themselves the time, the space, and the love to see the blessing in their lessons. To be grateful for the fact that it's a better life on the other side of it, if you can take it, if you can accept it, if you want it. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about. And like I said, there are like, I wouldn't even know where to start with how many examples there are of lessons that we can have, but there are many, many, many. And sometimes it's funny because it'll be the same lesson, but it's kind of packaged differently. So we might not catch on at first that it's the same lesson, and then eventually we do, because we'll be like, wait a minute, some part of my life seems to be on repeat. And if you notice that, if you get some kind of deja vu feeling, yes, you are in the matrix. No, but really, we really are. But anyway, if you get that deja vu feeling from something going on in your life, if you're like, wow, this is like familiar, I'm repeating it, I would take a look at that, because the chances are very good that that is a lesson. And the sooner you get the lesson and apply it, because it's great to get a lesson, right? It's awesome to get a lesson, but if we don't actually apply it to our lives, then what was the point of it? And if we don't apply it to our lives, then we're just gonna have to do it again. And I don't know about you all, but I don't want to keep doing my lessons over and over. I'd rather just get that lesson. Look how beautiful. Look at the beautiful sky. I would rather just get that lesson, right? And then move on to the good stuff. But the truth is, even though we can't see it, learning those lessons is part of the good stuff. And it is all a blessing. And most times at some point in our life, we can look back on it and say, yes, that was a blessing. It absolutely was. And it changed my life for the better. And I can certainly say that in my case. So I feel a test coming up. You know, sometimes you just do. You just know when something's coming. Because I feel like it's that situation for me now where I'm at such a good place. You know, my Creator has given me some resting space from things and let me kind of integrate stuff. Look how pretty this is. I don't know if you guys can really see how beautiful this is. So I think there'll be a test coming, but I'm good. Like normally, you know, when you're going to take a test, you're like, oh man. For a lot of people, it's just a feeling of kind of dread and, oh dear, I don't. Like I just feel really happy and excited and joyful about it because I know I'm good. Like I've got it down. I have everything in place and I trust myself, which is something I did not do before. I did not trust myself in situations, and I would put much more of my trust in others. Now I'm in a place where I'm good and I trust myself first, which is what I wish for everyone. Because at the end of the day, you know, your Creator dwells within you, which means you have the answers, guys. You know what is best for you. You know. You can trust yourself better than you can trust anybody else's whatever, right? Whatever their plans, thoughts, whatever are for you. Trust yourself first, right? And then if you get fortunate and people are brought into your world who are on that same path and they are in a good place where they're learning their lessons and they're living a life from a place of love, then that's beautiful. You know what I mean? That's beautiful. Then you have what's called mutual trust, which is really awesome. So I wish everyone the very, very best. Have an amazing, beautiful, beautiful day. Happy new moon, black moon eclipse. It's going to be awesome energy. Soak it up. Do something new and wonderful. Love yourself. Have some self-care. Sending everyone love, peace, and unity. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys again. Bye-bye.